You're listening to Bridges Radio Program. This is a show about the creative industries, artists of all mediums, and other professionals who make the art we all enjoy. Bridges is produced at Citadel House Studios in Lewisport, Newfoundland and Labrador, and is a collaborative project between Carolyn R. Parsons and Citadel House. This program can be found on iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, and in podcast at SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, as well as many other podcast hosting programs.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 19 of Bridges. It is January 29th. Our guest this evening is Shawn Anthony. Last week we were speaking with Don Baker, and I'm here with Carolyn. How are you, Carolyn?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. I'm getting so smooth with that bit, I think I should go audition at CBC.
I think you should. I think it's time. But you still have to do our podcast.
And then, yeah, do the two. That's the only way.
I want to try something, okay? Bear with me here.
Yeah.
Oh, did you hear that?
I did not hear that, no.
I did, okay. It was a bell ringing, so I wonder if that'll show up in the preamble. I'm going to practice. There's some sound effects that have... So for the listening audience, I operate off a software called Spreaker, and it's a dashboard. It's an app, or it's installed on the computer. So I pulled it up, and it's like a tiny little version of what your dad uses to record in the studio, Bonnie. But a part of so there's been an upgrade, and it has sound effects. So that during the recording, I can add, and I'm not going to, I'm going to practice on another actual not show. But there's lightning, and there's applause and laughter and like things like that, and cheers and bells. And then
dear.
And then there's a guy that looks like a detective. I don't know what that means. And then there's a camera snap, like a flash, that sound of shutter. So I'm going, and there's a gun. I don't know why there's a gun, but I have to. So what I'm going to do is I'll do a test of all these. So when I said I was doing that, I rang the bell, but you didn't hear it. I could hear it.
No, we'll see if it shows up, though. Yeah, I'm curious.
I'm being silly now, but we can use some of these things to have some fun sometimes. I'm interested in like the applause. Because, we're sitting here and we don't have any audience that we can, because we record them. If we were a call-in live show, it would be a little different. Maybe somebody would call. So we don't have any applause when we say something. Like, if you say something really, really cool, I want to, have applause. I want the audience to to clap for you, to cheer you on. Anyway. But I don't think I'll ever use it. I don't think I'll ever use the gun. I'm not quite sure why there's a gun. I'm not sure what purpose that would. I guess there are some talk shows where that might be a good sound effect. Lightning might be fun, lightning and thunder, if that's what it actually is. So, anyway, I'm going to test them all out after we're finished. I just wasted a whole bunch of our very short time talking about our sound effects.
That's all right. That's what's up. We just discovered sound effects.
We have sound effects. All right.
Yeah. Stay tuned to see if they worked in the future.
If there's a bell in this recording, they worked. And if there's not, I'm going to have to practice it. I don't know. Anyway, I usually when you get upgrades on your phone and stuff, it messes everything up. So maybe it'll mess everything up too. All right. So that's what I'm at.
We'll see.
Playing with the bells.
That's what you're...
So what's coming up at Citadel House? Anything new?
Yeah. Well, January 5th. Okay, so currently we're in the middle of an open stage right now.
Right, it's going on right now.
Open stage for the underage. Yeah. February 9th, we have Dave Penny coming in from St. John's. And on February 16th, we have Waterfront Fire, which is going to be great. I'm so excited. I love
Waterfront Fire. So I don't know them, and so I'm going to have to come to... When is that date?
February 16th.
Okay, so it's right around the time my book releases, but I don't think I'll be doing anything that actual weekend of the book release because you can never count 100% for sure that the books will arrive from the printer. Hello?
Mhm.
What was that?
Yeah, hi.
I heard this sound. I'm
A
like,
truck
what?
drove by.
Oh, okay.
That was my sound effect. Yeah, somebody with a big jacked up truck drove by outside.
Okay. So, anyway, I'm not sure, but if I'm around, I know I have a thing on the Saturday, but it's a daytime thing. So I think I will try to make it to that show because I like the name of I like their name, Waterfront Fire.
Well, you'll like their music too. They're a 5-piece, I believe, rock band.
Wow.
And they bring such good energy. And Jordan Coker is the vocalist, and he is the vocalist for Quote the Raven. But he can take, he has a fantastic voice. He can take his, beautiful harmonies with Kirsten from Quote the Raven and translate to some wonderful rock, vocals. He has just really great energy and a really great stage presence. And they're just very fascinating to watch.
I'm sold.
I would highly recommend it. It's going to be great.
I really want to come to that one. And I love all kinds of music. But I'm a rocker in my soul. As much as I listen to so much folk and, because that's sitting around the house listening to music, you know what I mean? But when it comes down to it, I was raised on rock and roll. That's my, and I always say there's not a lot of good rock now. It's hard to find rock and people making original, rock music. And I mean, there's pop and there's, so I fall into all of those. I like a little bit of an up-tempo type. I'm interested in them. Plus, I like the name of the band. That's always it's like the cover of the book, right? The name of the band. That's important. So I'm gonna make a special effort to be at that show for sure. And that's
please do, yeah. And tell your people and everybody on Bridges. Tell your people who's listening. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, and if you're in the area, come to Lewisport for I know it's February, but there's not a lot going on. Remember that article I shared it with Dean. I don't know if you saw it, but there's an article from a reputable source, it was a actual real newspaper, and I can't remember. I think it may have been the BBC or something like that. There was a story that going to a concert every 2 weeks could expand your life by up to 9 years.
Oh, yes, I've seen that.
Something like that.
I only read the title.
I'm really playing with the stats here, but there was an actual study done that, and so basically that's the clickbait headline type thing. But basically, live music is good for you. And there were
there you go.
Scientific studies that say going to a concert and live music is actually good for your longevity. So Dean's figures he's going, you guys are all going to be centenarians, you're going to live for, hundreds of years because you guys have a concert at least every 2 weeks. I don't know how it works if you're the host of the concert, if there's some stress there that maybe balances it out a little bit. Whereas I just
maybe it does
show up and sit down and absorb it. But I mean, I sometimes I am amazed at, I'll be talking to people and I'm like, yeah, I've been up to Citadel House. They had this really great show. And they're like, oh, I keep meaning to go. It's it's not hard work. You walk. It's
you walk up a set of steps and in the door.
Yeah. And if you live in Gander, you basically exit the highway and keep driving. Right? You're on the street. Once you exit the highway onto Junction Road, you just keep going because you're on that street. And it's there's Citadel House. And, if you're coming from Grand Falls, same thing, because you live on Main Street, you live on Main Street. So it's a very easy thing to do. And when I was in Ontario, I would hop in the car and drive, 2-3 hours to go to a show in Toronto. It's an easy thing. So go see, because it's really good for you. You'll live longer if you go see live music.
And it's a really good, like, I believe it's a really good date night kind of thing, especially if you're coming from out of town. Come in, go to like Lee's or go to the Campbellton cafe. Get some food beforehand. Come on down here.
Don't get dessert, because there's always goodies at the Citadel House, so you can save, it's included with your ticket price, and at reasonably priced tickets at the show. Quality entertainment, like as good as you get anywhere in St. John's or anywhere in Atlantic Canada, or the country for that matter. And so you go, you take off early. You go, like you said, go to Lee's or whatever you like. If you're a McDonald's person, go to McDonald's. If you like to go, Campbellton has a beautiful restaurant out there, the Bay by the Bay Cafe. If you're vegetarian or have some dietary requirements, that's the spot for you, because that's where I go. Yeah. So date night, like it's different. It's not, we don't have a movie theater around here, but there's certainly options, and go to that, and then go to a show, and oh my gosh, Valentine's Day is coming up.
And if you
buy the tickets,
there you go. And if you want to come and do a weekend of it, I recommend you stay at Islands Villa. They're wonderful.
Right.
We kind of work in collaboration with them sometimes, and they're a great place to stay. It's rated very highly, 4.5 stars, I believe, and they're just lovely people. So if you want to make a weekend of the thing, they're the place to go to.
That's right, and it's just come into Lewisport, stay at Islands Villa, take in a show. Go, there's so many options, and we're right by the bay, and Lewisport has the best weather in the province, near the water. It's essential. We don't have the extremes of the islands, like Fogo Island, Change Islands, Twilling Gate. Like, we don't get as extreme weather as they do. Get lots of sun. It's sunny here today, and I'm always a big advocate for, like, come to Lewisport. There's so much to do here, and more than people think, and they're always a little surprised when I tell them. So anyway, meanwhile, we have rambled on, and now we need to tell you about today's guest.
Yes.
We have a great guest today. We have Shawn Anthony. Shawn Anthony has written a book called Apse the Gate. Apse the Gate. So Apse, A-P-S-E. Are you familiar with that, Bonnie?
I'm not.
No, I think it's out around. He's from Fogo Island originally. His family moved to Scarborough, Ontario, when he was a kid, and he spent his summers, had his nans in Fogo Island. And so his grandfather would say, now you be sure to apse the gate when you leave. So he'll talk about that. But to apse something is to close it, snap it. And the snaps on shirts or whatever, not the buttons, but snaps, clasps or whatever. Those were called apses. Now, there might have been an H put in there. I'm not sure if they belong or not, but he doesn't have an H on his. So it's apse. So when they were telling him to apse the gate, that meant close the gate or be sure it's secured, right? So that's where the title comes from. And it's a collection of his anecdotes and stories from his visits there and his impression of people. And of course, he calls it home because he was born there and he spent so much time there, and it just, feels like home to him, even though he spent most of his time in Scarborough and his parents still live there, and, he's in Ottawa now. So he is, I found out about him through Scott Sims, our MP, Scott Sims. I was at a meeting with them a couple weeks ago, and we finished the meeting and chatting about my book, and then he says, I have a book recommendation for you. And so he was telling me he wrote the foreword of course, Scott spends a lot of time in Ottawa, and he knows Shawn from there. And so that's how I connected with him, and now we've done the interview. And he's our guest today on the show. And it's a long interview, and it's very interesting. Lots of funny anecdotes he tells about some of the things that's in his book.